Good morning! From the look of the title, today we are trying on different septum jewelry. But I'm keeping it real simple and I'm only trying on different sized seamless hinged septum rings. Just so that we can see all the different sizes that I got and maybe we can agree on which one suits me the best. And also so that people can kind of get a reference to what the different sizes will look on a person. And I also find it easier myself to kind of look back on the video instead of looking like in a mirror or something. So it's been over 2 months now that I pierced my own septum. And my initial jewelry was just a horseshoe that I quickly found out was too small. It was an 8mm, but I tried to keep it in until the piercing was healed. And then I quickly changed it to the pincher that I'm wearing right now. And this pincher is 10mm. Maybe I'll get a little bit closer so you can see it. I don't know if you can see it from this distance. It is open at the bottom, so this is one of the ones you can flip up and hide. So while I was waiting for my rings to come in the mail, I did order a second pincher just because I really like the look of this one, but I did think that it was a bit thin. And to wear a thicker one, usually you would have to stretch. But I pierced my septum with a 1.5mm needle, and these are just 1.2. So I went ahead and ordered a 1.6mm pincher just to see if I was able to fit that in. So before we get into the rings, I just wanted to try that one on. And these are from BodyArtForms. And I did also contact the customer support because the one I got first, it has a slight dent in the front. And normally I probably wouldn't mind that much, but since it is in the middle of my face, I just told them that, hey, it's kind of crooked, and they were really nice about it and just shipped me a new one. So I got a second one that's more straight in the same size, but then I did also order the 1.6 that is slightly thicker. So let's just see if I can put that in. I think I need a mirror. Okay, found it. It is slightly tight, I think. If it can focus, and let's see if I can turn it all the way. Like it's kind of tight, but it works. There. So this is the thicker size, but because it is a pincher, even though they are thicker on top, they look kind of thin at the bottom, which is a shame, kind of. Yeah, I like it, but the thing I found out with this one is that this is much more narrow in the open space. So this one I'm actually not able to flip up in my nose because it is so tight. So yeah, I don't think I'll be wearing this that much because the whole point of having a pincher is so that I can kind of flip it up if I need to. So this is kind of useless then. So now let's get into the rings. So first I just want to show you my initial jewelry. This was the horseshoe that I was wearing. It is super tiny. You can barely see it poking out. Yeah, there's barely any space. So I figured that an 8mm might be way too small for my nose, because I didn't even know if it would close with that little space between. So the first 2 rings I ordered, I decided to go for a 10mm and a 12, just in case. I figured the 12 might be a little bit big, but I just wanted to try it on for fun. This was during the quarantine times, and the shipping was really slow, so I could not order from other countries. Because by that time I had a missing order from CrazyFactory that had taken like 6 weeks and it still hadn't showed up. And another order took like over 3 weeks. So since I was so eager to change my septum jewelry, I tried to find a store in my own country, and I came across, I think it was just called Bodypiercing.no. They had really bad reviews on their Facebook page and like not a lot of info on their page, but they were super cheap, so like I felt like it wasn't such a risk trying to order from them in case it didn't show up, because I wouldn't lose that much money. But it did show up, and the quality seemed really decent too, so I was really happy about that. This was the envelope it came in, and it says Skin Fuel Empire Tattoo and Piercing, so it seems like they have a actual tattoo and piercing shop somewhere down south. So then I did get the 10mm and the 12mm, and I could kind of tell just from looking at it that the 12 might be way too big for my face, but let's try it on just to compare. And also, since it's so big, it's really easy to just open with my hands, so it's kind of convenient. It's still super hard to find the hole, like every single time. Like I can never figure out where it is. It should not be this hard. I think I have to close it slightly off camera. Maybe not. Okay, that is the 12mm. It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. There's still quite a lot of space between the end of the piercing and my lip, but I feel like if I smile or talk, maybe it is a bit long. It's just kind of huge and not personally what I like. So this one gets a no from me. Oh, I think I kind of fucked up the side of my nose while trying to push this in. Not the best idea. And then we have the 10mm from the same place. It did say titanium on their page, but they were really cheap, and also with the bad reviews they had, like I'm not sure I trust it, but yeah. And even with the 10mm, I'm still able to do it with my hands. That's the 10. When I first tried this on, I wasn't really in love with it, and I started questioning myself if I did the right thing of piercing my septum because I didn't really like how this looked. So I had some doubts. Then I figured like maybe I just think this is also too big for me. Like maybe it's just the size that I don't like, or maybe I was just too used to my pincher. Maybe I just didn't like the ring after all. So then I actually decided to maybe get a ring in 8mm, the same as the horseshoe that I pierced it with, even though it might have been too small. So that's what I got next. So then I had to wait another week for the 8mm. Like you can see how close this is to the middle of my nose. And the hinge on this is quite tight as well. Okay, I got it without having to use my pliers. That's always good. So that is the 8mm. So as you can see, I was able to close this. It does fit really snug, but it doesn't pinch my nose or anything. However, it is too small because I don't know if you can tell, but when it doesn't really hang, and when I do this, it kind of pops up. If it's there on my nose and I do this, it kind of switches position because it's so snug that it follows the movement of my nose, kind of. Not sure I like the look of it either when it is this snug. But yeah, since it does move and doesn't hang straight, it's really annoying. So I do think the 8mm for me is too small. But then since I didn't like the 10mm, I decided to go on a hunt for a 9mm, even though those are kind of rare, because it usually jumps from 8 to 10 and then from 10 to 12. It's kind of hard to find both 9 and 11mm. But I did actually find a store that had them, and I've ordered from them before too, and I found it at Bodymod.no. I was still trying to find a store within my own country, although Bodymod is like, I think they're Danish, but they do have a warehouse in both Denmark and Norway, I think. Something like that. But I've also noticed that on the orders I've gotten from them, I think some of them came from like Germany, so maybe they have a warehouse there. So it's kind of like I'm not really sure where they're shipping from, but I decided to order anyways because I did really want a 9mm to test out. Like, I didn't really care how long it took because I could wear the 10mm while I was waiting for it, or just a pincher. Yeah, I think it arrived after like 2 weeks, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, let's try that one on. It's really hard to get off, so I'm gonna use my pliers now to remove this. And also I noticed that after wearing jewelry, my nose always gets like dry and flaky. I really don't know why. I had this with my labret as well. Like, my lips got really dry and stuff. But also now with my septum, like, the tip of my nose gets really flaky. I'm not allergic to the titanium or surgical steel, because then it would be like really red and inflamed on the inside. But for some reason, it just gets really flaky. Don't know why. If you know why, then please tell me in the comments. And now I've completely messed up all the rings on my table here, so I'm gonna have to kind of measure them and see which one I have to try on next. So here we have the 9mm. Because these are pretty rare to find, I was not able to find them in titanium, so this is just surgical steel. And honestly, they don't look that much different. I think it looks slightly darker than the surgical steel, so these are kind of more like a light silver color. Is my camera too bright now? I think the sun is kind of coming in here, so maybe turn it down a notch. That is the 9mm. I personally think that this is the best one for me. Maybe you can tell, but this one does hang really nicely, and it doesn't really move when I move my nose. And it does have a bit of space between my septum and the jewelry, so it's not too snug either. So I personally think that this one is my favorite, and I'm really happy that I was able to find the 9mm as well. You wouldn't think that 1mm difference would make a huge difference, but when it's the diameter, they do look very different on. This is the ring that I've been wearing ever since I got it. I am very much in love with it, and when I got this one, I did kind of fall in love with my septum piercing all over again. Yeah, I'm very happy about it. Let's just end it here. I've tried on the 8, the 9, the 10 and the 12mm. So let me know down in the comments which one you think looked the best. I'll see you soon in a new video. I've already ordered and received a huge order from CrazyFactory. After the whole quarantine thing was over and when the mail seemed to kind of be on track again, I did decide to order from them. They ship from Germany too, I think. I did receive it after like 1 to 2 weeks. Probably close to 2. So I do have an order with like 7 or 8 different kind of more fancy type of jewelry, but I decided to split it in 2 videos so that this one wasn't too long. So I'll be uploading that one pretty shortly, so stay tuned if you want to watch me try on some fancy stuff, and I hope to see you then. Vi ses!